Welcome everyone to episode 1 of the Zelda Book Club. We are going through the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time manga. This video is just covering chapter 1. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on chapter 1, and we're gonna do a little recap and maybe give some fan opinion.
Yeah, we wanted it to be as interactive as possible, so give us your thoughts, send us some questions, and we'll move on.
Alright, so before chapter 1 even begins, we see Link's mother riding through the rain on a horse with a crying baby Link with her.
Yeah.
That's got to be a task, actually, to carry a baby through a thunderstorm
while riding a horse. Yeah,
there's a very concerned look on her face. So desperate times, clearly.
Yeah, and I think the first scene shows Link and his mother. I think it's the title screen, the title image of the chapter, just sleeping in front of the Great Deku Tree.
Yeah, I think that's a great shot.
Yeah, and it's like we never really get any backstory about Link's family. I mean, I can't think of in any of the games. I mean, Link had an uncle once.
Yeah.
In A Link to the Past.
Yeah, his sister in Wind Waker and Grandma.
Yeah. That's
probably the most. That game kind of provided the most of a family story for Link. So right off the back, like, we were talking about the differences between the game and the manga.
Right.
The things, some are just, it elaborates more, some it is different.
Yeah, this is a detail that's not even, there's no reference whatsoever.
Yeah.
I always wondered with the Kokiri, since they're always kids, I don't know if it ever talked about this in the lore, but how are they created? You know what I mean? Like, there's no adult Kokiri. Are they children of the Deku Tree? Like, are they plants or something? I don't know.
Maybe further in this I'm doubting it, but just in this it starts off. There's the Kokiri forest and the Kokiri dwell within it, and that's all they say.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe someone out there knows some specific lore that we missed, but for some reason I always thought, like, forever I always thought the story was, Link was like brought there by his mother or something, and I don't know how I knew that, but maybe I just read someone talking about the manga or something.
Right.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I have no idea how I would have known that, but I was just
maybe
like,
it's mentioned somewhere, like in a brief, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe the child Deku Tree, the Deku Sprout or whatever. But so yeah, they give a little backstory of the Kokiri, and then it starts with the Deku Tree kind of telling the story of creation. That there's another difference actually in the game. He tells that to Link later on, but in this we see him talking to all the Kokiri children, telling them about Din and all the goddesses who created Hyrule. I liked how they actually showed him interacting with the Kokiri.
Yeah. Yeah, it gave the Deku Tree a little more character in that he's it's more of like he's a character in the game, but he's more like a living, breathing entity, it seems, in this one, in the manga.
And they tell you, like, that he looks after the Kokiri, but in this it's nice to, like...
Yeah, in this one he's literally looking after them too, because he's like, one of the shots it shows he's much, like, it looks like he can actually see over the entire forest. So in the game he's sort of like off in that corner. It's like, unless you go in that direction, he's not like omnipresent or anything.
Yeah, you kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah, he's got his privacy.
True.
His own lair.
True.
Yeah, but we get to meet all the kids.
It's nice. I don't think any of them get names other than the characters in the game so far, but it's cool to actually see their community and them doing stuff other than trying to lift a rock or
teaching you how to Z target.
right. So I liked in the scene where he's telling the story to the children, Link is running, he's late, he probably was sleeping or whatever. I think that's maybe a panel is him sleeping, but he's like, I'm gonna miss it, and he like bonks on the head of the guy who is trying to lift up the rock. So it's like, Link, I mean, he's just kind of like this oversleeping, rambunctious child.
Right. Yeah. And I like they have more childish traits too, especially with the text, with how they interact with one another, specifically with Link and Mido, where it's sort of in like if they actually feel like they're 10-year-olds.
Yeah,
they're like chuckling, and Mido and the other guys, they're kind of like bad guys. They're like evil people. They're like picking on them for like, you don't have a fairy. Like, like,
they what do you call them? Defective.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. You're calling somebody defective.
Clearly, but by how much Link brings up, like, oh, I'm different. I don't have a fairy. That's like the most. That's like the most sensitive subject for him, because he starts a fight with Mido. Right. So we we kind of see Link characterizing this as he's very childish. He compared to the games, he's like a silent protagonist. People say you kind of project yourself into Link, but it's actually cool to see Link given some sort of character, and I don't think it's like a negative that he's kind of childish. Yeah, kind of immature. He's kind of like he's like any 10-year-old would be when you're criticized for something that's totally out of your control, but his natural reaction is like. Now, I may take issue with it if by the second book he's like, excuse me, but if this actually, I'm hopeful that this does a good job of like evolving his character. Yeah, I have faith in it. But yeah, one thing that was interesting, I don't know if this is ever covered in any lore or anything, but when they get in the fight, Mido's fairy attacks Link, knocks him off of him. Fairies are pretty strong, I guess. But and then Link goes, "You're cheating. Like, you're using your fairy to fight me." And his response is, "Well, the fairy is just as much a part of me." Yeah, it's almost like a continuation of the bullying. Like, where's your fairy to fight for you? Like, my fairy's fighting for me. Yeah, that cuts pretty deep, I would say. I know. Like, I feel bad for Link. Poor guy. But I thought that was pretty interesting element, is that the Kokiris are sort of bonded to their fairy or something, to where it's an extension of them. Right. Yeah. They're not just when I think of Navi's obviously the main fairy when you look at the game, and it's sort of it feels more of a companion. It's like a friend. And I guess we never really see the relationship between any of the Kokiri and their particular fairies, but the way Mido describes it is in the manga, they're one of the same. I think he uses the term, they're just like my limbs or something, right? Yeah. I wonder if we'll see other fairies in this talking like Navi does, because we didn't in that. Right. To where Navi in the game has sort of, a different personality from Link. Navi's obviously telling you, like, well, look, there's vines on this wall, or we need to find a key, if Navi was just like another limb of Link, an extension of his own body, like she wouldn't be pointing out things to him, I don't think. Right, yeah. So I think there's maybe something to say about him not being Kokiri, that there's a disconnect between him and his fairy. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. I don't know, that's pretty interesting. That's when the Deku Tree breaks up the fight. And Link, we talked about Link once again brings up why am I different than everyone else? He's the Deku Tree says, "Oh, you'll find out. You'll find it in time." And, like, if I'm like a 10-year-old boy and some like guy's like, "Oh, just tell me already." Like, it's very much like, why can't I do this? Because I said so. Yeah. I can imagine him just get like, and the way it sounds, and the way like it's pictured, it sounds like this is not the first time he's heard that. Like, yeah, I think he actually says that. Does he say that? You always say that. He says, yeah. that I imagine like in a big eye roll, or I can imagine like a father, or a son saying that to a father. Yeah. Why am I different than all the other kids, Dad? You'll find out when you're older. That's also when we are introduced to Saria.
Yeah.
Who we get to see, a little bit more of the relationship between her and Link. Mm-hmm. Like there's the cheesy line of Link saying, "Oh, I guess I'm different than everyone else," and she goes, "Well, you'll always be my best friend."
Yeah, and he's like,
But it's cool. In that scene, he shows her the slingshot.
Yeah, I like that. It's different in that, obviously in the game, slingshot's in some random treasure chest that is in the Deku Tree for no apparent reason.
Right. He's just like, oh, I keep a slingshot in me just in case.
Yeah. And you have to go through 3 rooms and use a small key,
Right.
Yeah, so I guess like Link crafted the slingshot. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like a toy, and they use it as a point of reference to for the 2 characters to interact.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, it's something that's very, if I was a 10-year-old growing up in a world in the middle of the woods where I'm guarded by a giant tree, mm-hmm. I would want to make a slingshot.
Yeah.
And show it to my friends and be like, look what I did.
Yeah, so that was cool. That's also Saria notes you're crafty, you created this thing, and that's when he talks about how he's different than everyone else. But I like that it gives him, there's something more to him. It adds to it, he's not just I get the case we see in the game, at least the Kokiri kind of just live there. They don't age and stuff like that. So and a lot of them seem to be okay with, in the game at least, yeah, we just live here. There's not many people who are we want to go out and see what else there is. Mm-hmm. So in this, he's what's out there, but also what he's thinking of new things. Link is thinking about the world, I guess.
Right. And I think it's Saria that mentions the house with the high roofs or something. What was it with the pointy?
Link does, because he's talking about the dream.
Okay.
Which is kind of we see that dream in the game a little bit too, but
yeah, that would be the scene with him outside the castle when Ganondorf rides out on the horse. Mm-hmm. That doesn't seem like that's what his dream is in this, or at least we don't know fully.
No, it sounds he doesn't mention Ganondorf for the horses. He just mentions seeing
the castle.
Yeah, the castle.
Which he doesn't even know what a castle is.
Mm-hmm. And the only reason Saria does is because of the Deku Tree.
Yeah.
So it's also cool. We see the Deku Tree overlooks the children, but he has this higher knowledge of the outside world, and I think he may know about some of the evil things out there.
Right. Yeah.
And he's obviously trying to protect these Kokiri from them. Mm-hmm. One thing that we should not forget to mention is then it's just one panel. I think she goes, okay, so I'll play my ocarina and we'll dance.
Just why not? Right?
It's not even it's just, I mean, what else is there to say? But
is that a purpose to introduce the ocarina?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
but that's cool. I wonder where she got that from.
Yeah, I think it's another one of those so in the game, specifically in Ocarina of Time, the characters, the Kokiri, don't really do anything. It's there's no time element in the game really where they time is not progressing for these, so it's the same character is just sitting on top of the shop telling you how to target people, and the same person is telling you how to pick up rocks.
Exactly.
Whereas in this game it seems more to be a living, breathing world, more so like Twilight Princess to that extent. Link was able to make his own slingshot, just to venture, sort of like in Twilight Princess. I guess Colin made the fishing rod.
Right.
It was these characters actually do something with their lives, Mm-hmm. So maybe they crafted an ocarina somehow. I don't know.
I wonder if that's another one of Link's creations, or Yeah, that's cool though. So yeah, it's like a nice little scene where we kind of show that they're friends. I like that as opposed to just being told they're friends. It's like, well, she thinks Link is interesting because he
he's an inventor, I guess.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to the game. Like, if they don't show anyone else other than Mido like picking on him, but they kind of acknowledge like everyone thinks Link is different and weird, except for her. She like appreciates these qualities of him.
Right. Yeah.
So that's cool. Then we're greeted by Gohma,
our good friend Queen Gohma.
I
like when Gohma first makes her appearance. She doesn't have any words at first. It's just like there's just sound effects, squeak, quack, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. And shows her like crawling around towards the Deku Tree. Mm-hmm. It's nice to know that there's, I guess, some sort of backstory as to where. Well, there's not complete backstory yet, but like Queen Gohma, like in the game, it's you just enter the Deku Tree and there just happens to be a boss at the end of the Deku Tree because that's how video games work. But in this one, we actually get to see development of, I guess, the boss prior to Link ever entering the Deku Tree. Mm-hmm. So we get to see Gohma, and I think she has a line or two. I don't remember exactly what she says, but it's not good.
I kind of like at least that they are giving some of the enemies more of a story than, well, there's just a boss at the end here. I mean, in the game they do an interesting job of like they have those Deku scrubs kind of like giving you a little bit of flavor text about Gohma, where you can kind of they do actually a great job in the game for an N64 game of kind of letting you put the story together in your mind. But I like seeing some of the story here of Gohma.
It gives her more personality, more character. Mm-hmm. As for the vast majority of the bosses and enemies, everybody's silent. Like they don't have any text at all. Mm-hmm. So it's
I think with most of them, through the boss, you could give them a character. Yeah. Maybe some like that are more abstract. Maybe not. Like I don't see Morpha or what's the ones like Bongo. Yeah, maybe.
Dead Hand.
Oh yeah. So I don't see some of the ones that are like even weirder than just Queen Gohma, who's a spider thing. Like I don't see them having character, but who knows? I'm willing to be surprised by this. So
I'm looking forward to jumping ahead to what to expect in Chapter 2. Just Link and Gohma interacting. Mm-hmm. Is there going to be a discussion before he destroys her?
Yeah, well, that'd actually be cool. Like, and you could even find out there's a lot of things you could do with it. So you could have them talk about Ganondorf, or I don't know, like, because I think that would be cool to build to those confrontations.
Yeah,
like. Just like they could do with the Deku Scrubs or whatever, building up to the boss. Then I think I'm thinking in like pro wrestling terms here, and then you could have all these mid card or sub like bosses lead up to the final, to Ganon and your encounters with Ganon.
You're right.
Kind of like kind of like in Skyward Sword, when you're encountering Girahim over and over. I think that actually
it's a gradual build up is what you're getting at.
Yeah. I like that, as opposed to you beat this one, beat this one. Now you kind of interact with I like kind of being reminded of the big bad the whole time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think they could do that. I think they will do it.
Yeah. We'll see with that.
Yeah. One thing we should also mention that happened is the final prank that Mido tries to pull on Link.
Mido is such an asshole. he gets a so he decides to get a saw and cut a hole underneath Link's house.
Yeah.
Where in any world is this acceptable behavior?
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
And then while this is happening is exactly when Gohma is attacking the Deku Tree.
Yeah, so it's like two very different things going on here.
So the Deku Tree sends Navi off to get Link.
Mm-hmm.
And Link is awakened by this fairy, and he's like overjoyed by a fairy.
And he goes running out of the house.
And he just falls through this.
Well, actually, what's funny about that is he says, "I'm going to go brag about this to Mido," who's right outside.
And then he just it's very like Tom and Jerry-esque.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just pulling pranks on one another. And
very cartoony, kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
In real life, that'd be a horrible thing to do to someone. But
I think he just falls, and he's not even mad. I think he asks, "What are you doing here?" or something. Or I don't even know what he.
I think he's got all that adrenaline from the fairy, and then he's still putting it together when they notice the forest wilting.
Right. That's what happens right away. That all the flowers are like dying,
which is cool. Nothing happens like that in the game. Like the Deku Tree has that one scene where he just turns a different shade, but it's cool to see, like this negatively affects everyone.
Yeah. And the chapter closes with this like scene of like, so we're in a situation here where like Link is about to brag about getting this fairy to Mido and like finally put something in his face.
Mm-hmm.
And Mido just like created this trap that Link fell into.
Uh-huh.
But all of that is forgotten because they see a bigger threat. It's like, so the frenemies, I guess, have come together.
Yes.
Because there's a greater evil now, or they need to figure out what's going on with the Deku Tree.
Yeah, so, well, that's cool to see. Like they're gonna kind of maybe give Mido some turn him good a little bit,
Yeah, I imagine like he'll probably like I kind of glanced ahead. I think he goes with Link on his journey this first portion.
Oh, really? So he almost has it has some elements of Groose in Skyward Sword.
Yeah,
like especially the trifecta between Link, Saria, and him, where where
Groose was kind of a bully, and Mido is too, and then he eventually comes around when he sees a greater threat.
Mm-hmm. That's a good story, I think, to tell. Yeah. So overall, chapter 1, like, what are your overall impressions? Like, was it what you were expecting, or?
I'm kind of excited, actually. I like that there's I like that they're giving some of the characters who, when I think of Mido, for example, I think of just the guy who just patrols back and forth telling you can't cross until you get a Kokiri shield. Like, That's his character, that's his job. But in this one, he has, like, he's kind of a bad guy. He's kind of a, like, immature kid. He's just constantly making fun of you and pulling pranks on you. Mm-hmm. But then he's got this other side where now he's like, he looks like he's gonna, turn to be a good guy, I guess. But the point is, there's a lot more about him, and it's not just him. Even with those interactions with Link and Saria, where there's just a lot more. There's a lot more information about each of the characters, the Deku Tree as well.
Yeah,
and it's nice to. In the game, there's basic text, and you have to sort of imagine some of these things yourself. But now we actually get to see it. Actually happening.
Yeah. And we kind of already talked about what you were looking forward to seeing in the future chapters.
Yeah, I wonder, like, so the next chapters, the second chapter covers the Deku Tree. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how they can, like, novelize what you see in the game. Because it's not like they're going to, walk into a room and you have to kill a Skulltula and press a switch and light a torch and like get a key, open it. Is there going to be a compass?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I wonder how that adventure through the Deku Tree is actually going to play out.
Yeah, that's very interesting, actually. I would say that I like how they've changed things from the game. Made certain things make a little more sense in a non-game setting, and also give more character stuff, more characterization than just an NPC in a game. And so I think I'm looking forward similarly to see how they'll change like puzzles and dungeons. I don't think there's going to be block puzzles and stuff like that, but I would like to see some element of that.
Yeah.
There should be some things to test Link's mind, since we've seen that he's kind of a creative and thinking individual.
Yeah. There should just be a panel, a top-down view of a block puzzle.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
solve it yourself.
Push it up 3 times, left twice, down twice.
You know what there should be? There should be a maze, and it's like, help Link get to the Triforce.
Awful.
There's just a coloring book section. Yeah, that's... I have tried not to spoil anything, so I don't really know anything about what's going to happen in the rest of the book, but I heard there are some larger departures from the game.
Okay. I don't know anything about that, really.
I think I had read... Well, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I don't want to know it.
Yeah, I didn't want to know it either, so... But I'm not even 100% on that, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
And don't you guys spoil it for us either.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was chapter 1. We're looking forward to doing the rest.
Yeah. So for the next video, we'll read chapter 2, which covers the Deku Tree, and we'll go on to chapter 3 as well. So chapters 2 and 3 for those of you reading along with us.
And for those of you who are reading along, definitely leave us comments on thoughts you had about this first chapter, the stuff maybe we missed, or maybe some theories you have about the things that are different, or some of the lore that we were talking about.
And also, just one last thing, you can pick these guys up. We'll put some links in the description where you can pick them up. They're cheap off Amazon, so read along with us.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.